All right, I'm heading home to record this episode because I just feel called to do this right now. But I want to let you know, as a disclaimer, before we start the episode, I am telling my real story as it happened. So it's going to be real. There might be some laughter, which might seem inappropriate. There might be some tears that seem inappropriate. Honestly, I don't think anything is appropriate or inappropriate when you're speaking about abuse. So I'm just going to tell it like it is. And I process shit through laughing, through joy. I really get to a lot of my conclusions through finding life deeply silly sometimes. So if I'm laughing, talking about my assault, that's my problem. Like, please don't think that I'm insensitive to assault. Don't think that I would ever laugh at someone else's story of assault. This is my story. So, like, I get to laugh. Like, that's what survivors get. It's one of the gifts that we get to heal and learn and teach. So, don't come for me. How I work through my trauma, I won't come for you. Anyways, I think it's going to be fun. I kind of feel like I want it to be a fun episode and silly, because like I said, it always feels better for me if I can see that stuff in it. So let's have fun. I know that's a literal crazy thing that I just said. Let's have fun. But I don't want anyone to feel bad at the end of this story. I don't want a story of assault to make someone feel worse. I want them to know that this is stuff that I have healed. I want them to see how I can heal it, the tools that I use, and maybe like it can free them up. Because if somebody is in it and they think it's just hard and bad, which it is, maybe if they listen to something that's light and silly about abuse, it could like give them some new perspective and help them. So that's all I'm saying. Disclaimer done. Start the episode. 3, 2, 1. Assault. Okay, let me set the scene for you, because I was literally at the gym in jeans because I went on a walk over by my free gym. There's like trails. I was just walking and I was like, ooh, I want to go in the gym. I want to do this. Changed down to everything but these disgusting jeans. So I was doing pull-ups in jeans. And I was like, you know what? This shit is not a vibe. And sometimes when you say something isn't a vibe, something else comes in that is a vibe. And for some reason, these stories started bubbling up in me. And it seriously felt like I had to say them. So I just left the gym and we're going to talk. And we're going to go for it. And I'm just going to open with a little prayer. What the fuck? God, help us to seek truth and joy and love as we talk about hard things. Boom. I should look up the definition of assault versus abuse. Or maybe I won't use definitions. How about that? Let's keep ourselves accountable even to that, and I don't want to call something that it's not. I'll just talk about my experience. From my experience, it's not for me right now to decide what was assault, what was abuse. That's not helpful to me telling my story. So let's disregard what it's called and let's just talk about it. I think for men, it's hard for men. I think there's not a framework for survivors. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's a large framework yet for survivors who identify as women, but there is one starting, there is one existing, and it's helpful, and there are resources. Men, there's a world. I was talking to my friend's boyfriend who's straight, and he told me, you literally don't know what it's like for straight men. Like, I don't know. But I do know what it's like for me as a queer man, so let's go with that. When you're queer, and straight men, I want to hear your stories too, but when you're a man and you don't fit in, and you're different, in any way, you stand out. You just do. If you're in a male body, and it's not quite right. I mean, I was being asked questions about my sexuality from age 6. Like, that's common. That's very common, that someone would ask you who you want to fuck as a child. That's weird. And that was just the start of it. What really gets me is the times as a child, so under 18, that I can now look back and say, that man because literal adult man, in many different situations, but like a few that stick in my mind, that man wanted something from me. And I was raised with a healthy set of boundaries, and it was modeled for me very well. So I always had a no. And I know for a fact that if I didn't have that, I could be not here. Just because of things that happen to people. I think everybody has stories that could have gone one way or another way, depending on a yes or a no. And not everyone listens to no. And I've seen that too. So I don't think it's in my control in that way. I don't think that I allow or disallow abuse or assault. Anyways, when you're a kid, people want shit from you. It's just the truth. Kids are subject to so much. They're so vulnerable, and they're completely at the whim of the adults in their lives. Whatever the adults want has to happen for the kids. And if the adults want something bad, kids don't know what to do. So there's that. I think that for me, the funny thing is, and this is what's funny about it, so get ready. I thought I liked the attention. There were times where I liked the attention. And as a child, it's not on me to not want and crave attention from adults. And when you're a kid, you don't know what attention is good, what attention is bad. If someone's paying you attention, it's good to you. It just is. And that makes it hard because you don't even realize, you as in me or you or whoever, the things that people were doing or the things that people were wanting. You just know how you felt about it. And so many people I don't even think realize what's happening, is what I'm saying. I don't know, like grooming or whatever language is used now, there's more words for it, but there were less words back when I was a kid. It was more this idea of like a stranger in a van. I remember being very afraid of, like, because I would walk home. I wouldn't walk all the way home, but in first and second and third and fourth grade, I would walk a couple blocks with my best friend, and we would get picked up by her mom at this corner, but it was away from school. And my mom would always, I don't think she was trying to scare me, but just be like, never get in any single car that is not, let's call her Stassi, that is not Stassi's van. That's a good name. Like, okay. So blah, blah, blah. All the way from Stassi's van to now. It's just a string of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, okay, I have a desirable body type to culture. And I know that women feel this way too. I was given a body that certain people have decided have value. I want to use the right words here. I've been given a white body. I've been given a skinny body. I've been given a male body. I've been given a blonde body. And all of these things I didn't choose. And I can 100% tell you I didn't choose what I think has been the cause of a large chunk of my sexual assault, which is my abs. I didn't choose that shit. That literally, someone asked how I got my abs on Instagram, and I literally responded and said they just appeared one day. That's how I remember it. That's what happened. That's my story. I've never done a fucking 6-week, 6-pack plan. I just have them, and I got them at 13. And I know, because I've talked to friends, it kind of felt like getting boobs at age 13, and how these women who are girls at the time are forced into a new world and are talked about differently and are touched differently. That happened to me. It happens to a lot of men and a lot of boys, and I haven't heard them say this. So if this rings true for you, it doesn't have to be abs. That was just my freaking thing. Any desirable male body part that comes before its time, let's say, before 18, is going to be chased by certain people. That's just true. And that's where it stems from. I have so many memories of being touched, and I don't ever remember giving permission. That just pretty much sums up my my voice is like shaking as I talk about it. It's genuinely like, yeah, when you speak the truth, it kind of like brings you there. Let me try and do it. Okay. I was touched by people I didn't want to be fucking touched by. A lot of people. Still, it happens. It has happened. It will happen. Oh, my cat is here. Hi, baby. Oh, come hang out with us while we talk about abuse. Do you hear him purring? Oh, that's so cute. Come sit with me. Okay, so as I was saying, my abs got touched all the time. The thing that people really like to fixate on, and where I'm trying to empower myself, is it's called, my other cat just came in and he's scared. What? Come here. He's fine. Anyways, people just fixated on the fact that I have a visible 6-pack of abs. And it was this time period where Zac Efron was very popular. These like boyish people were popular. And I actually had a similar haircut to like that. Like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, or Zac Efron. Like I had that hair going on. And my name is Cody, so I was always called Cody from The Sweet Life. Anyways, I think I just kind of looked like one of the little Disney Channel teeny boppers. And there were people out there who were men, who were adults, who treated me like I was their personal thing. And I can tell you right now, it didn't cross a line that I feel. I mean, it crossed lines. Hello. But like, it didn't cross the final line, if that makes sense. It didn't cross the line of no return for me to be able to be a normal person in the world. And for that, I'm very grateful. I don't even know how I was protected. That's a God thing. Those of us who make it without that final step happening, and I don't like using the words because they're hard, but God bless everybody who's going through that. I can't. But for me, childhood was a minefield of who's safe and who's not, just because of the way I looked. And I thought it was going to stop when I went to college, and it got worse. That was the weird part, because I genuinely thought that like once I was 18 and once I was an adult, like I had this feeling, this suspicion as a teenager that like it could go away, because then I would be the adult and I would be in charge and I would be in power, and I would never do that, and I would never put myself in that situation. But what I learned very quickly at college is that those situations, they just come. And there's no, you can't put a why on it. You can't say it's because I dressed a certain way. You can't say it's because I looked a certain way. You know, I'm trying to give meaning to it and tell you that I did look a certain way, but keep in mind that like you can look any type of way and experience this. This is not confined to people who have quote unquote desirable male bodies. That's nonsense. But I'm just talking for me. I keep giving disclaimers because it's hard to speak your truth in love. You don't want to exclude anyone from the truth, because while this is what happened to me, it's not what happened to you. And there can be tools that I say that you use, but I can't heal it for you. So I'm just healing it for me. That's what this podcast is. All right, that's my last disclaimer. Now I'm just going to speak truth. It really started when I was in the dorms, like adult assault started when I was in the dorms. And it starts pretty innocently. It starts with comments. It starts with words. It starts with people testing boundaries and testing what they can say to you and what they can call you and what they can assume about you. And I remember that when I started like kind of showing up online as an adult, I immediately kind of got like a wave of assaulting or, sexual language that I wasn't asking for. And it never went away. And I've had to process it. And I've had to figure out, like, I've always had this thing where it's like, is there something wrong with me? And I mean, right there, that's the abuse thing. That's what comes from abuse, is like, okay, if I'm moving through the world and I'm being assaulted or I'm being talked about or I'm being touched, it must be something with me. It must be something about me. There must be a reason that these people feel like they can do this to me and think that it's not a big deal. And so then I think I figured out, like, what my reasons were. Like, oh, it's just because I'm this. It's just because I'm this. And I let that be why people were allowed to do those things to me. And one of those things is just like that common language of like, I wish I had abs. That one people let slide too much, because that language has led to me being touched far too many times. And I know in the gay male world, touch can mean different things to different people. And so I do leave room to be hugged and, just touched in good, loving ways that feel good to me by my brothers and sisters. But I also have a line. And everyone needs a line. And that's what kind of my journey has been, is figuring out what my line is. My cat is now watching the receiver for this microphone pick up the audio and bounce around. Please don't knock it off. They're watching like the little screen. Anyways, yeah, I don't feel prepared to tell you guys, obviously, about some of the harder things, because certain things aren't for public consumption. So I'm trying to use vague terms. That's the tricky thing, is like, share your story, but don't traumatize anyone along the way. Like, I don't think it would honor me or you to say a bunch of scandalous details, because I don't want to make it into like sometimes I feel like crime shows and crime podcasts are doing more harm than good, because they almost like re-traumatize the audience and re-traumatize the victim. And I'm trying to speak from healing, babe, bitch. So I'm not always going to use the CSI details. I do look at it like an episode of Serial. Like, the things that have happened to me, I kind of like have a mental map where I'm like trying to study all the different pins on the bulletin board and see how they connect. But really, I need to let it go and just say, that happened to me. And I don't like that person. Because that's all we can really do. There are, of course, people that I could take to task and say real names and expose for specific things. But the truth of me right now is that I don't feel prepared to provide evidence. Not because I don't have it, but just because it would be hard for me emotionally to gather. Like, I'd have to dig some shit up. And that's why a lot of people don't come forward on shit, is all I'm going to say. Some people will never tell you. Family members of mine that went through things I never knew, and I didn't have to know, but I knew. You know what I mean? Like, conversations like this happened in order to help heal them, not re-traumatize them. So that's why. Anyways, my cat is being so freaking cute. I did make the mistake of having a way too big coffee today. I think that's why I'm going in on this, because this is my second podcast that I recorded today. I think I'll release this one first and the second, then the episode 4 of the traditional pod. This is just a side-off ep, because I genuinely think, why wait to tell your story? I can tell it again to someone in person if they need to hear it, but my story is stronger the more I speak it. You know what I mean? So, like, we're just riffing on it today. Yeah, I think there's also, I've moved in spaces now where I have more, it doesn't feel like I have more influence. It actually feels like I'm on a platform of like objectification, and there are people that are telling me that I deserve to be treated certain ways because of the ways that I dress. And my warning sign goes up, because that's fake. And I've been in spaces, in physical spaces with important people. Like important people in the sense of like they make things happen. They're the people behind the people. Okay? So like behind artists, musicians, certain people don't have, I'm not saying they have harmful intentions, but with the level of boundaries I have, see things I don't want to see. Oh, it could be a book, couldn't it? It could be a book. Yeah, it's hard because I don't want to, I want you to feel included in this conversation. I'm not saying that like these are secrets. Everyone knows how the world works. I'm just saying it works for privileged people too. Because I think some people might see me and see the person that I was talking to about this, the straight man, and think like, oh, straight white man, what could be wrong with his life? And for him to tell me very seriously and look at me in the eyes and say, it's not what you think. You know, we have to honor that because we have to heal. Re-traumatize people, just go and do it to somebody else. Not re-traumatize people, go traumatize other people. So I'm healing it. I'm stopping the line. And I'm not going to feel bad if somebody listens to this and can't handle, can't deal, thinks I'm being inappropriate. Because they were being inappropriate to me, bitch. Like, this is me taking my power back. They can talk their shit all day long to me, and I can't say anything back? Pretty sure that's why we're in the problem we're in. Anyways, let's just put me as an avatar right now. Like, it's not that I think this, but I think there are people who look at me and think this. Hot Young Thing is in town. What you see playing the role of Hot Young Thing will blow your mind. People are messed up. They're messed up. Yeah. And it's funny because when I enter these spaces, I think there are people who can tell how boundaried I am because I say no all the time. I only say yes when I mean yes. And so I feel very divinely protected, but I see the ways people are trying to like test me on that or try me on that and be like, could that no be a maybe? And it's like, it's a no. I hope this can feel empowering to someone because the truth is there are more queer people than ever and there will only be more queer people. Everyone's coming out. Everyone is something. So now we need to hear real stories of queer abuse because nope, that's not the queer world I want to live in. I don't do that. My friends don't do that. If you do that, you're not a friend. Period. I don't care if you're queer. Oh, we are spitting truth today. I'm like on the edge of being canceled. No, this is just from my heart. This is my story. Cancel me for my story. Like, who are you gonna expose me to? TMZ? I didn't say any names yet. Wouldn't that be crazy if I just like posted a list? No, see, that's not the way I do it. It's not the way I live, and that's not the way I heal. I think that would be hurting people, not helping people, just the way I see it. Because I believe that the people who have done things to me can't change. And I also believe that the system is broken and it's not going to heal them. So I guess I'm just like hopeful that it's towing that line because I think survivors of abuse or assault or whatever you want to call whatever crossing of whatever line, they have to decide, do I put an end to this person crossing this line before they do something worse? Is that my responsibility since it happened to me? Like, survivor's guilt is real. And it's what keeps us quiet. So you know what? This is a start. I don't know if I'll ever feel comfortable to do this again. I don't know if this was a one-time thing or if, you guys have questions that I can answer, because I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. So if you ever want to share your story, please know that I'm a safe space. I was saying in the last podcast, it's hard because my DM requests are where I also can get sexually, abuse isn't the right word, but like I get shit I don't ask for in there, and I don't want to see some of that. So it's hard for me to open every message, because sometimes if it just says like so and so sent a video or so and so sent a photo, my old trauma comes up and I think like, oh god, like what video did they fucking send, is like where my mind goes. Like, let me get ready to see something I don't want to see at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. So sometimes I might not open everything, but you are welcome to share. I will send hearts when I see it, because I really am sending love. You can share on the comments. Here is a better place to share if you want to share a story and maybe others can see it. I'm all for speaking and being heard. This is not a space for me to just blah, 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 even though this is my story. It's a we thing, guys and girls and theys. It happens to everyone, not just wealthy actresses, which their stories are important, but it's like the average everyday person. Like I'm a painter. I'm not in movies, I'm not in TV. Y'all don't see my face on billboards. But if I can share the story and it doesn't faze me and it doesn't change my work, and sharing it is just another day in my life, I think that's powerful. I think that's possibility on the other side. Because if everyone had a podcast episode about what happened to them, think about what we would learn, think about the evidence that courts would have, think about the records people would be keeping of what it means to be alive right now. So this is one of those things. Please let me know what you think, if you felt heard or seen. I'm always trying to do the best I can. So let's have fun. Like I said, this is a harder episode, but it's still silly. It's still light. Like, that's my vibe. So I can be silly and light through the hard stuff, is what I'm saying. I don't think I'm ever really going to shy away from anything on this podcast. If I feel like talking about it, I will talk about it. That's my promise. That's my promise. So cancel me if you want, babes. Love ya. See you in the comments. Seriously, love you so much. Like, you get me, you know? And I get you. Okay. See ya.